بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد عليه أفضل الصلاة وأتم التسليم. When Allah talks about Ramadan in the Quran, how many verses does He use? How many verses does Allah use about Ramadan when He talks in the Quran? How many verses? No, not two. No, not four. Close. No. Five. Allah in Surah Baqarah, He talks about Ramadan and He uses 5 verses. What does He start these verses with? Say it again, sir. يا أيها الذين آمنوا كتب عليكم الصيام كما كتب على الذين من قبلكم لعلكم تتقون. O you who believe, surely fasting was prescribed upon you as it was prescribed upon those before you. لعلكم تتقون, that you may become from the people of taqwa. What does taqwa mean, ikhwan? The fear of Allah. When we use the word taqwa, it's important we understand that taqwa does not necessarily mean having a long beard, or having a short thobe, or having a miswak. But rather, it means having the knowledge of Allah, knowing Allah through His names and His attributes. Knowing Allah through His names and His attributes, and what that leads to is that you know Allah, He sees you and He hears you. So therefore we worship Allah by doing certain things and abstaining from other things, knowing that Allah is watching us. This is what taqwa is. This is what we mean by fearing Allah. That when we are alone and nobody is around us, we still worship Allah by doing that which He loves and that which He has commanded us to do, and abstaining from that which is haram upon us. This is what we mean by taqwa. When Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu ta'ala anhu, when he was asked about what taqwa is, he gave an example, and he said that taqwa is, imagine you're walking upon a path, and this path has thorns and it has broken glass and that which is harmful to you on that path. How would you pass over this? How would you pass this pavement? You would be very cautious, wouldn't you? You would take every single step very carefully, that you do not step on something which is harmful. And this is how the believer is when it comes to taqwa in his life. That we take every action that we do and we are cautious. And we take a step back and we think, is this something which brings me closer to Allah, or is it something which makes me further away from Him? Right or wrong? This which I am saying, is it of benefit to me, or is it going to be harmful to me? How I treat those people around me. Is it of something which Allah is going to be pleased with? Is it going to earn His pleasure, or is it going to earn His anger? This, my brothers, is what taqwa is. When it comes to taqwa, it's important we understand this is not something specific to Ramadan and Ramadan alone, but rather it's with the believer throughout his life. Every single thing that we do, we have to have the fear of Allah, knowing that Allah is watching us and He hears and sees everything. From the things that establish taqwa into our lives is the concept of dua, is making dua to Allah. And you find that when it comes to Ramadan, then this is from the greatest ways of becoming from the muttaqeen, from those people who fear Allah. What is the connection that dua has to the month of Ramadan? Who can tell me? In the Quran, the 5 verses that I mentioned, there's 5 verses in the Quran which talk about the month of Ramadan. No, there's another verse. The question is, from the 5 verses in the Quran, which one of them shows us the importance of dua in the month of Ramadan? Which shows us the connection between Ramadan and dua? The 4th verse is وَإِذَا سَأَلَكَ عِبَادِي أَنِّي فَإِنِّي قَرِيبٌ أُجِيبُ دَعْوَةَ الدَّاعِ إِذَا دَعَانِ. And when my slaves and servants ask you about me, O Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, then surely I am close. I respond to every single one of them when they call upon me. This verse here is the 4th verse out of the 5 that Allah mentions concerning Ramadan, showing the importance of dua. Because Allah chose dua out of all acts of worship to mention with the verses of Ramadan. Is that clear? Also you find the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, ثلاث دعوات لا ترد. There are 3 supplications which are not rejected. Who knows what they are? Huh? Hey, Da'watul Sa'im is one of them. The first one is Da'watul Sa'im, the dua of the person who is fasting. The Prophet ﷺ, he promised us that this dua will not be rejected. The second one, this particular hadith, is Da'watul Musafir, the dua of the one who is traveling. And then the third one was Da'watul Walid li waladihi, the dua of the parent for his child. So the point here is, you find that from the times where dua is accepted is the time where we open our fast. Again, showing the strong connection that the month of Ramadan has with dua. Is that clear? Now, as we all know, that dua is from the exclusive rights of Allah. When we make dua to Allah and Allah alone. And nobody other than Allah deserves that we call upon them. And the believer should not have anybody else in their heart to that extent where he believes that this person can help me the way Allah helps us, or he can help me with Allah. This is not the Islam the Prophet ﷺ taught his Sahaba. So when it comes to why is it that dua, Allah chose dua to mention in the verses of Ramadan out of every other act of worship? Why is it that Allah loves dua to this extent? And the Prophet ﷺ, he said about dua, he said, "Dua huwa al-ibadah." That dua, it is worship, showing its great importance. Meaning it is the greatest form of worship. Who knows the answer? Yeah, but what does dua have special about it? The connection that establishes to Allah with regards to, first of all, servitude. And this, of course, is the purpose of our creation. Why are we here? To worship Allah with the Tawheed, with His Tawheed, worshipping Him and Him alone. The second thing that dua it mentions, that it brings together, is humility. And one humbles himself. And the third thing is acknowledging that we are in need of Allah. What does Allah say in the Quran? يا أيها الناس أنتم الفقراء إلى الله والله هو الغني الحميد. O mankind, surely you are in need of Allah, and Allah, He is Ghani al-Hamid. What does al-Ghani mean? Rich. The one that is rich. What's a better translation? Ghani means the one who is free of any need. So when we think of richness, we think of houses and cars. But when we talk about Ghani with Allah, we are talking that He's free of any need. He's not in need of nothing. What does al-Hamid mean? Well, that is worthy of praise. That He is free of all need, and He deserves and is worthy of all praise. So again, showing the importance that this month has when it comes to making dua to Allah. So the question here is, have we all here made enough dua and utilized this opportunity that Allah has given to every single one of us? Because Ramadan is an opportunity, isn't it? The month of blessings and rewards. Have we taken this opportunity the way we should and make the most of that? What is there more that we can do? When it comes to dua and Ramadan, there's three things that we have to ask Allah for. The first one is guidance. That Allah chooses you to make the most of this opportunity. Because you find there are many, many people who let this month pass like it is a normal month. But rather you have to ask Allah to guide you to understand the importance of this month and to make the most of it. The second thing that every believer needs for a successful Ramadan is that he has to ask Allah for his good deeds to be accepted. Because you understand that just because we put forward good deeds, it doesn't necessarily mean that they are accepted. Because it might be that we do something that makes that deed null and void. The Prophet ﷺ, he said, Inna al-muflisa min ummati. What does muflis mean? The person who has nothing. He has nothing. The Prophet ﷺ said, the muflis for my ummah is the one who will come on the day of judgment. And he has fasting, and he has salah, and he has zakah. He has a lot of righteous deeds. But at the same time, what's amazing about this hadith is the Prophet ﷺ, he said, this person has nothing. Why does he have nothing? Who knows? Why does this person come forward with all these righteous deeds, but he has no reward for them? Because he wronged and he oppressed those around him with his actions and his dealings and the way he was with people. So you find this is the second thing we need to ask Allah for our good deeds to be accepted, and the third thing is for our shortcomings to be forgiven. For our shortcomings to be forgiven. Because you find that sometimes we might do something which we may think is something small, but in the sight of Allah it is amazing. Similar to this is the sins. You might think a particular sin is small, but in reality the punishment is heavy for them. Is that not the case? Where is this message? Okay. Who from amongst the brothers here can tell me the importance of dua? How do we know the importance of dua? There's something in particular that I'm thinking of. What shows the fada'il of dua? From the hadith the Prophet ﷺ mentioned is that if you do not ask Allah, then He becomes angry. And subhanAllah, the scholars when explaining this, they said this is the opposite to the creation. You find that when you ask the creation, they become angry. But when you ask Allah, He is pleased. Why? What I mentioned before, because you are bringing those acts of worship together of humility and acknowledging that you are in need of Him. What else shows us the fada'il of dua? How do we know the importance of dua in our religion? Excellent. Allah, He descends to the lowest heaven to listen to the supplications, to listen to our supplications. What was your one that you mentioned? Allah orders us to make dua to Him, making it a commandment. أَمَّن يُجِيبُ الْمُضْطَرَّ إِذَا دَعَاهُ وَيَكْشِفُ السُّوءَ And who is the one who can remove the person who's going through a disaster and remove any calamity and any hardship? So you find our religion, alhamdulillah, is complete and perfect. Allah has given us the answer, but it's upon us to come now and take the steps that Allah has put there for us. There's something else that nobody's mentioned, the importance of dua. Yes, right, something else as well. Okay. The one that I was thinking of was that Allah starts off the Quran with what? Why is everybody quiet? What does Allah start off the Quran with, Ikhwan? Fatiha. I think the flash is getting to us, huh? You find that Allah starts off the Quran with Fatiha. And in the middle of Fatiha, what do we have? Ihdina Sirat al-Mustaqim, Allah guide us to the straight path. So Allah starts off His book with not only making dua, telling us to make dua, but at the same time asking Allah for the greatest thing ever. And that is what? What's the greatest blessing of Allah in this dunya for us? Guidance, being guided to His straight path. This is the greatest blessing of Allah upon us in this dunya. What does Allah end His book with? What are the last two surahs of the Quran? Al-Mu'awwidhatayn, Qul a'udhu bi rabbil falaq and Qul a'udhu bi rabbin nas. And these in reality are du'as as well. You are asking Allah to protect you from the different evils that are mentioned in those surahs. So Allah starts off the Quran with making dua, and He finishes the Quran with making dua, showing its importance. So again, my question is, brothers, how many of us have in reality made the most of this month when it comes to making dua and busying ourselves with the worship of Allah? From the acts of worship which help us become from the people of taqwa is sabr, is patience. Again, another act of worship which is connected to the heart. Dua is connected to the heart, and sabr again is connected to the heart. Why have I decided today to speak about the acts that are connected to the heart? Durus. Because you find that the heart, my brothers, is the most important organ of our body. And al-istiqamah and guidance and iman starts off in the heart, then it manifests itself after that. The Prophet said about the heart, he said, Inna fi jasadi mudghatan, idha salahat salaha jasadu kulluhu, wa idha fasadat fasada jasadu kulluhu, ala wa hiya al-qalb. Prophet he said, surely in the body there is one organ. If this organ is correct and righteous and upright, then the rest of the body will follow it and be righteous and correct and upright. But if this one organ is corrupt and it is wrecked, then the rest of the body will be like that. What was this organ? He said, Ala wa hiya al-qalb. Surely it is the heart. So it's important we understand when it comes to becoming from the people of taqwa and righteousness and piety, we have to cleanse our hearts and our souls, first and foremost. The Prophet ﷺ, when he started his da'wah, what did he start with? Out of the 5 pillars of Islam, how did it start? The Tawheed of Allah, connecting the slaves to Allah, to the oneness of Allah, and rectifying the community and the hearts of the believers from any kind of heresies, from shirk and innovation that were prevalent at that time. So he came and he cleansed the hearts with Tawheed. And this is the greatest way that one can cleanse his heart and rectify his soul, by knowing his Lord. And how do we know our Lord? Through His names and His attributes. Through His names and His attributes. So you find the Prophet ﷺ, when he came, he taught his companions about Allah's names and His attributes, and how He is, from His exclusive rights is His rububiyyah and His uluhiyyah. But you find He cleansed the hearts of the companions from any kind of ailments that might have been prevalent at that time with the Tawheed of Allah. And once this was established, then they moved on to Salah and Zakah and the rest of the acts of worship. So you find, So you find this shows the importance of rectifying our hearts. From those acts of worship, my brothers, that have a special connection to this month of Ramadan and making us from the muttaqeen and rectifying our souls and our hearts is patience. The Prophet ﷺ, he said about patience, صوم شهر الصبر وثلاثة أيام من كل شهر صوم الدهر. That fasting, the month of Sabr, and three days from every single month is like you're fasting the entire year. What did the Prophet ﷺ call Ramadan in this hadith? What did he call Ramadan? He said, Shahru Sabr, the Shahr, the month of what? Patience. And of all the different things the Prophet ﷺ could have called Ramadan, he called it the month of patience, showing us the strong connection that Ramadan has to Sabr. So you find that when it comes to this month of Ramadan, it is a month of opportunity. The Prophet ﷺ said about this month, إِذَا كَانَ أَوَّلُ لَيْلَةٍ مِنْ شَهْرِ رَمَضَانَ سُفِدَتِ الشَّيَاطِينُ وَمَرَدَتُ الْجِنِّ. When the first night of Ramadan enters, the heads and the most evil of all the different shayateen, they are tied up. وَغُلِّقَتْ أَبْوَابُ النَّارِ فَلَمْ يُفْتَحْ مِنْهَا بَابٌ. And the doors of Jahannam, they are locked closed, and not a single one of them is open. وَفُتِحَتْ أَبْوَابُ الْجَنَّةِ وَلَمْ يُغْلَقْ مِنْهَا بَابٌ. And the doors of Jannah are wide open for every single one of us, and not a single one of them is locked closed. Ponder over this hadith, my brothers. The Prophet ﷺ is telling you the doors of Jannah are open for every single one of us. And he's telling you that the doors of Jahannam are locked closed. And the heads and most evil shayateen are tied up in Jahannam. What greater opportunity are you waiting for? To get closer to Allah and to have our sins forgiven and enter paradise. Are we going to find a greater opportunity than this, ikhwan? In the same hadith, the Prophet ﷺ, he said, وَيُنَادِي مُنَادٍ يَا بَاغِيَ الْخَيْرِ أَقْبِلْ. And a caller comes forward and he calls from Jannah and he says, "O doer of good, come forward. Now is your opportunity to increase in your reward and increase in your goodness." The month of blessings. وَيَا بَاغِيَ الشَّرِّ أَقْسِرْ. And O doer of evil, have mercy upon yourself. Because now is the opportunity for any sin that you may have, any shortcoming that you may have, now is the opportunity to remove that from your life. وَلِلَّهِ أُتَقَاءُ مِنَ النَّارِ وَذَلِكَ كُلُّ لَيْلَةٍ. The same hadith, the Prophet ﷺ, he ends it with saying that Allah, he sets free a portion of slaves who are destined to be from the people of the fire. And he sets them free, showing his great mercy and his compassion that he has for us. He said, وَذَلِكَ كُلُّ لَيْلَةٍ. That is every single night. So again, my brothers, if we're not going to take this opportunity now, then when are we going to take this opportunity? And I end with this last part of patience, where it's important we understand sabr is of three types. The believer has to be patient in three different categories. The first one is in worshipping Allah. We cannot just be Ramadan Muslims where we know our Lord just in Ramadan, but rather the one that we worship in Ramadan is the same one that we worship outside of Ramadan. We have to be persistent and persevere in our worship of Allah. The second type of patience the believer he has to have is staying away from that which Allah has made haram upon him. He has to be patient in staying away from those things that his soul may be inclined towards. And he knows that it's haram, he has to stay away from that, he has to be patient upon that. And the third thing is we have to be patient in the qadr of Allah, that which Allah has decreed for us, and at times it may be difficult for us to swallow. It may be difficult for us to accept. These are the three things that we have to be patient in. The first one is in worshipping Allah. The second one is being patient in staying away from what Allah has made haram. And the third one is being patient upon what Allah has decreed upon us. Face it. You ready? Yeah. What are the 3 types of patience? Never sleep at the front of the class. Who's going to tell us the 3 types of patience? We are Abu Suhaib students. Raise your hands. What's your name? Irfan. What's the first type of patience? To do that which Allah has made an obligation upon you. What's the second type? Staying away from the haram. The third type? Having patience with the qadr of Allah. We're going to stop here inshallah because we spoke about the importance of dua and how the dua before the fast is accepted and it's not rejected. So we're going to have a small Q&A inshallah, and you guys can you'll have plenty of time to make dua inshallah. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik. Who has any questions? The greatest thing when it comes to Ramadan is of course fasting, having the connection to the Quran. شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن هدى للناس وبينات من الهدى والفرقان. But the month of Ramadan is the month in which Allah sent down the Quran as a mercy for us. He referred to it as هدى للناس, as a guidance for mankind. وبينات من الهدى والفرقان. And the Quran, Allah describes it as being a criteria. It distinguishes that which is true from that which is falsehood. So it's important we have a strong connection to not just reading the Quran in this month, but having a way of understanding, reading the translations, or having a tafsir class, or whatever that may be, and pondering over its meanings. Is that the question? For the Qunut? Ask of the brother, inshallah, he'll tell you. I'm sure you guys here, you're doing accordance to the Sunnah and how he's understood that. So ask him, inshallah, he'll tell you in that case. So I have understood something different, and I say it might cause conflicts. Any other questions, brothers? First of all, you have to understand that Allah, He in 8 different places in the Quran, He describes the shaitan as being our enemy. 8 different places throughout the Quran, Allah describes the shaitan as being our enemy. Now the shaitan cannot physically harm you, but what he can do is that he has certain tricks and things that he does. From them is that he makes you, he magnifies the sin. And it may be that something is a sin, but he makes it so big and he makes you despair from the mercy of Allah. And in the Quran, what does Allah say? Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam, he said, وَمَنْ يَقْنُتُ مِنْ رَحْمَةِ رَبِّي إِلَّا الضَّالُّونَ. And who despairs from the mercy of Allah except for those who are misguided, those who do not know their Lord. Allah in 7 different places in the Quran, He says, Ar-Rahmanu ala al-arshi istawa. Allah rose above His creation. What name did He use in this ayah? What does He describe Himself in this ayah? Amr. He used the name of mercy, Ar-Rahman, showing that He is above you, knowing what you're doing, He's watching you, but at the same time, His mercy is there for you. So there's no sin that you may have committed in your life except that Allah will forgive you for that. And do not let the shaitan come and make you think that Allah is not going to forgive you. But rather Allah is more happier, as the Prophet ﷺ, he said, the example he gave was, imagine a man traveling in the desert. He's traveling in the desert and he sees, he's with a camel, He's with a camel and he sees a tree. And he goes and he lies and rests under that tree. And he wakes up and he sees that the camel has disappeared. And that camel has everything, his wealth, his food, his clothes, everything. And they disappear. And he knows that he's going to die now. He has nothing left to do. He's in the middle of the desert. And then he falls back to sleep and he wakes up and he sees the camel. Out of severe happiness, he loses control over his emotions and he says, Oh Allah, I am your Lord and you are my slave. And of severe happiness. The Prophet he said that Allah is more happier than this man when one of us makes tawbah to him. So don't let the shaitan come and help you to fall into despair, but rather this is from the tricks of the shaitan, you should avoid that. There is no sin that you can't repent from. There is no sin whilst you're alive that you can repent from. And surely Allah knows best. We ask Allah, He makes it easy for the sister. Any other questions upon? When it comes to specific advice, then every person is different. Like you mentioned, your work. What you have to do is go into your life and set yourself a realistic goal and something which is practical, that you're going to do every single day. When it comes to reading portions of the Quran, or going to a class, or going from Taraweeh, or whatever it may be, set yourself a realistic goal, something you can do constantly, and be persistent upon that. And the greatest way that you can benefit from Ramadan is, as I said, having a connection to the Quran and seeking Islamic knowledge, learning about your Lord, learning about who He is from the Quran and the Sunnah, through His names and His attributes. This is the greatest way that you're going to benefit in this month. I'm sure the brothers have many classes. Brother Altaf here with the baby can help you with the different classes and the things that they have going on at the center, inshallah. Say that again, sorry?
What I'm talking about is just spending the day working.
When it comes to work, then first of all, when you work, your intention should be that this is an act of worship for you. And from the blessings and the amazing things about our religion is that we have the niyyah, that we have the intention. And the intention, it changes that which is the ada, that which is a normal custom, into ibadah, that which is an act of worship. So when it comes to working, the Prophet ﷺ said from the greatest types of charity one can do is earning money to spend upon his family. So when you go to work, this in and of itself should be ibadah for you. That you have the intention that I am going out to work, seek Allah's rizq in a halal way to come and feed my family. This in and of itself is a great act of worship. And then when it comes to other than that, then you have to look into your own life and see what you can sacrifice in doing that which is khair. Does that answer your question? Yeah? Well, it's for the people who worship Allah in this month, meaning the opportunities for us who are alive here today. And it may be that you make dua for somebody who's passed away and dua is accepted, and because of that they enter into paradise. Also, he said about the person he's going to come in the day of judgment and he's going to see mountains of good deeds, mountains, and he's going to say to Allah, I don't recognize these deeds, I didn't do any of these. Allah's going to say, this is a dua that your children made for you. So it's possible that somebody dead, he enters paradise through Ramadan, if you make the right dua for him. Or the sadaqah jariyah, if it's such in Ramadan, it has great virtue to it. Does that answer your question?
Whatever if a Jew or Christian does a good deed, it's something that they do.
I mean, first of all, you have to understand what good is. And good may be different in accordance to different customs and different cultures. But that which is good in our religion is that which is done for the sake of Allah. And it has to be done in accordance with the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. See, the prerequisites for any deed to be accepted, fasting, charity, whatever it is, it has to be done with faith in Allah, for His sake alone, not seeking praise or riyah, whatever that may be. At the same time, it has to be done in accordance with the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. These are the two conditions for any act of worship from anybody to be accepted. Is that clear, brother?
So if it's, I don't know, Christians see someone poor or someone in Syria, for example, they send someone just to help them out.
That's between them and Allah. That's between them and Allah. We don't know about what the reality of that is. It may be that one deed may be a reason for them to be guided. Alright. And as we know, when somebody takes his shahada, all the good deeds he did in the past he gets rewarded for that, and all the bad deeds are wiped away. So that's between them and Allah. We don't know about that.
Is it necessary to raise your hands when you dua?
Well, it's not a condition for you to raise your hands when making dua, even though it has great virtues to it. The Prophet ﷺ, when he mentioned that hadith about the person who travels, he said, يَمُدُّ يَدَيْهِ إِلَى السَّمَاءِ, he raises his hands to the skies. And this, as the scholars have explained this is from the customs of the prophets and messengers, that to raise their hands to the skies and make dua. But it's not a condition. There's certain adiyah that we say which you don't raise your hands for. When it comes to making dua and raising your hands, there's three types. That which the sunnah has established it, then it's sunnah to raise your hands. There are those du'as which the sunnah, the Prophet didn't raise his hands, like going to the washroom as an example, or when you wake up, he didn't raise his hands when he made those du'as. There's a third type, which you don't know if the Prophet did it or didn't do it. Then it's better to do it in that situation. Yeah?
Is it better to read as much Quran as possible in Ramadan, or read the Quran with the translation? If you understand that.
Both of them are good, inshallah. Both of them have great rewards and virtues. Both of them are good. But there has to be a balance between reading the Quran and understanding and contemplating over it. As we know, the Quran has great virtues in reading it. But at the same time, when it comes to the word recital, it has 3 steps to it. Number 1 is that you pronounce the words correctly. Number 2 is you understand and ponder over that which is being said. And number 3 is that you act upon them. Throughout the day. The Prophet ﷺ, when he woke up, he made dua. When he went to sleep, he made dua. Everything between was dua. When he would go somewhere, when it's more times when dua is accepted, who can help us? When is the dua accepted, brothers? Give us some times the dua is accepted. I've given you one, open the fast. Last third of the night. Between the adhan and the iqamah. When else? The dua of traveling, dua of the parents, when it rains. What else is there? The dua of the oppressed. And the Prophet said the most closest you are to your Lord is when you're in sajda. So when you're in sajda, you can make dua in any language if you don't know Arabic. That's the closest you are to your Lord. That's one of the times when the dua is accepted. Between the adhan and the iqamah also. Okay. Any other questions? Yeah, throughout, of course, whilst you're fasting. And they said the dua of the oppressed. Are there any other questions?
It's one basically question whether people mention dua of the traveler.
Yeah.
So can I actually, when you go traveling, get my car go first, that's to die as well.
It's better for you to do dua in your sajda. Because that also is virtuous.
Yeah, but the number of times you mention dua of the traveler and it's deliberately.
Well, not deliberately. Not deliberately, no. Because what you should deliberately do is make wudu and pray, and sajda, make dua then. But when you are traveling, when he spoke about traveling, he said that traveling is a form of punishment. Because a person, how tired he gets, he's a stranger, he doesn't know anybody where he is, he's missing his family, he doesn't know what's happening in his house, is everybody okay, is everybody safe. Because of that, it's one of the times when dua is accepted.
The question was, is it the sunnah to ask somebody to make dua for you who lives in that community? The people in that community who live there, is it right for you to ask them to make dua for you in Ramadan?
Yeah, if someone is going to Umrah or Hajj or something, you say remember in your du'as, then of course that du'a is of virtue. Ask somebody just, Allahu Akbar. Any other questions?
Are there any signs to indicate if you're fasting accepted?
I I mean, generally speaking, your fast should be accepted, inshallah, unless you've done something yourself that you know you've hurt somebody's feelings, or you've eaten or something, then you know your fast isn't accepted. But generally speaking, inshallah, it's accepted. You find that when it comes to ibadah and you worship Allah correctly, you taste the sweetness of iman and complete servitude.
What I was referring to is
Well, I mean, if somebody goes to that where they only know their Lord in Ramadan, then their understanding of Allah itself is deficient. But you think it's okay just to pray, or just to make dua, or just to know Allah in the month of Ramadan, then evidently something's not right. Something seriously not right. So maybe the understanding is deficient about Allah. They haven't understood how important worship is to them. Allah guide us among the Muslims. Any other questions you find?
The du'as of du'as for the deceased accepted. It's not the children of the deceased who are making the dua.
Yeah, it's not a condition that you have to be from the deceased family to make dua for them. You can make dua for them even if you're not from their family.
That accepted because it's only for the Prophet which says there's three things that remain. And one of them is the du'as which are the children that are accepted. It doesn't mention remembering.
Yeah, that's accepted. Yeah. The du'as that the believers make for you afterwards, then that's accepted, of course. What time is iftar here, Ustadh? 25, sorry about. Okay, we have 6 more minutes for questions. First of all, you have to understand that there's nothing that the Prophet never taught us about. There's nothing that he left that he never taught us about. The Prophet, he said, there is no good except that I've guided you to that. And there's no bad except that I've warned you against that. An example of this is the dua. So you find the Prophet, he taught us that when it comes to making dua, first of all, we praise Allah and we praise Him and we seek forgiveness for our shortcomings and that which we have done. And then you call upon Him, then you would end it up with sending peace and salutation upon the Prophet. Generally speaking, this is the general etiquette you learn from the du'as. Like Surah Fatiha as an example, when we say, Ihdina Siratal Mustaqim, Allah guide us to the straight path, we don't just make dua straight away, but we start with praising Allah, giving hamd and thana and majd to Him, then we make dua. Does that answer your question? Any other questions?
With regards to Laylatul Qadr, is there any significant evidence which signifies more towards maybe 27? Or is it like across all the odd nights?
I mean, generally speaking, the Prophet, when he said about Laylatul Qadr, find it in the last odd nights, of the last 10 nights. So that's when one should seek for it, inshallah. No more questions? Okay, I have some questions for you guys then, inshallah. First one is, what are the 3 types of patience that we must have?
You shouldn't only worship Allah,
Okay, the first one is in worshipping Allah. You should worship Him. You should be persistent in His worship throughout the year. That was the first one. In doing that which He loves. What was the second one? Being patient in that which Allah has made haram upon you. And what was the third one? Upon the qadr of Allah, certain times there's going to be things that happen which are difficult for us to come to reality with, but we still have to be patient. We can't just choose selective patience. Be patient when we want to, and other than we pick and choose. It doesn't work like that. Plus, we stop here then, inshallah. Subhanakallah, subhanakallah, la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.